Morning, Mark.
Craig, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Awesome. How about yourself?
Still a little busy. A little bit slower than it was, but still busy.
Yeah, busy's good, right?
Busy is very good.
Yeah, the team relying on you and to stay that way, right?
That's
So,
right.
and Matthew, are you on there?
Yes, I am on here. I just finished a training, so I have to do something on an account real quick.
Got it. Right. And just make sure you'll be a panelist as well. So we'd love to hear your experiences.
Yes, yeah, I'll be turning on my camera.
So are you switching over to Express and getting rid of the Facepay?
Here's what it was, Craig, right? Just to level set it. So we call it Express by Facepay.
By Facepay, right?
And there were two things about it. One was we really care, we want to make it as effective as possible for your shop. And what we found was with FacePay, it was too easy for service advisors to say to the customer, we have FacePay, you can sign up for that to pay. And then the customers go, I want to do it. That's not what we are, right? We're
Right.
literally connecting into that network, connect to your shop. So Express got rid of this mantra about an app and a payment. It removed that for the discussion, which is great, right? It should be. So
My texting and my bolt-on texting to the customer when I text them the link and everything and when I request them to use FacePay, I actually do say this is FacePay not associated with Facebook.
Oh, there you go, right?
So that's what we have in there because customers were just too weird.
There you go. And then on this webinar, you can just say what your reaction is to Express, right? And what it means to you from where you come. I'd love to hear about it. And then you kind of see now rather what we do then is we say, you can imagine a drop off where you go, wow, we look at your vehicle, you're going to get an estimate sent to you for approval. And we can already start making it easy for you to pick it up. And I'll send you a link shortly for expedited pickup options. That's all weird. That's the conversation, right?
Right.
Right. So we talk about expedited pickup options, and that's Express. The other thing is some owners are very honest, and they told me FacePay was just creepy because they thought his facial recognition, they never took time to understand it, right? And okay, I can handle that. So Express worked for everybody, but thank you for asking, and those are the reasons why. So the Matthew shared with you, just adoptions doubled since we renamed it, the way we train around express options and expedited pickup after
Right.
Yeah, it's drastically increased.
I will reword. I actually do not have it worded with Express yet, so I need to get that reworded in all my
I
communications.
Think I sent over the new the templates for that, but I will make sure I get those resent.
The templates for us to put into our texting.
Yeah, that have the new messaging.
Or the one that comes from like that's in the Express app.
Yeah, so we could make sure both are updated, both the ones in Bolt-on, and I thought we had done the ones in Bolt-on already a few months ago, but we can make sure, double check that both the Bolt-on ones and ones from our own dashboard are.
I'm checking my Bolt-on right now.
Oh, Anthony. Good morning,
guys.
Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Good afternoon.
And you heard us just on Bolt-on, and Craig uses it every day, so can respond.
Hi, Craig.
Lots. How's Anthony today?
Pretty good. How you doing?
We're still busy.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Better to be busy than broke, right?
Well, we're broke all the time anyway, but we don't tell people that.
Have you two met?
I don't know. Have we ever met have you been to a super conference or anything?
I have been to super conference. I was going to say, you look familiar. I don't know if I saw you in Puerto Rico.
I was definitely in Puerto Rico. I wasn't going to miss that one for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't want to miss that one. Not blaming them. That was a good one to be at.
Yeah.
You do look very familiar. I've seen your shop for sure.
like I said in my email, I've used a lot of bolt-on products for a long time. And when all of these other guys come around, the Tech Metrics and the Auto Vitals, and it's like I you know what, I've got too much time and effort invested, and bolt-on with Mitchell works perfect for me. I don't have a need to change, you know what I mean? And
sure.
there's you probably hear it all the time, people that are switching from Mitchell or whatever, they're all switching to Tech Metric.
Yeah.
So I do have another shop. It's a Euro only shop, and we do have Tech Metric over there. And I was and it's brand new to us, so we just purchased it. So I was going to get a hold of Bolt-On because I saw that Bolt-On is available to use with Tech Metric. So
Yes, we are.
I don't know what that's all about. So do you just have to go into a browser to make things work?
Yeah, it's exactly right. We have a browser-based digital inspection called NextGear that we have applicable to that. TechMetric's great, but the only thing with some of these cloud-based systems is they only give you so much capability, right? So as far as strength of integration, there's never going to be anything stronger than a Mitchell or some of these server-based products. As we start to move away from server-based, I think a lot of people are doing that in the industry.
They are.
You lose some capabilities. Right, that goes without saying, just because of being able to work off sub estimates and things of that nature. You lose some capabilities there. You may improve capabilities on the marketing side with the My Shop Manager and the car count management, but there's give and takes with everything. I think as far as strength in the industry is concerned, because we work with close to 26 different integrations at this point, you're absolutely right, Craig. Nothing's going to be stronger than Mitchell and Bolt-On combined. That's not a bias situation. I just know my competitors too well.
As a third party, right, this conversation, I totally support that, right? I could see it's this difference, right, of having workflow built and optimized for it. You understand this, and Craig sees how long you've been at this, right? Why do you give it up for a limited feature all in one? You don't, right? You keep this in place. What keeps your shop busy and you need it the most, right? I just get
right. You're absolutely right, Mark. And another thing too, it's not to say that the TechMetric DVI and Shopware and ShopMonkey and all these things aren't good. Digital inspections in any capacity are amazing. And I grew up in a repair shop. My father had 2 stores and did paper inspections for 40 years. Now, what is at the core? Why is digital inspection so infinitely important today? Because it's an education. Whereas I would say in the 80s and 90s, people had some working knowledge. I would say at least maybe 20% of the public had some understanding of what was going on in their vehicle. I would put that somewhere around 5% these days.
That's
so when we can.
My gosh, what an observation, right? Yeah, they just don't know. Yeah.
So think about it. Every transaction that we have with these customers, they come in thinking I'm going to spend $200 and they walk out with an $1,100 bill. When they're sitting at the couch at night and they're thinking about that and they're holding that invoice, it's pure transactional. They're saying, what did I pay for? And that digital inspection is so good because it's going to document that rusted out pad, that metal to metal situation. And it's now that transaction is relationship based, and it's an education, and it's a back and forth, and it's a transparency that is really good to have, right? It's good for the client facing aspect of it, but it's also good. I mean, think about the car counts at these shops. They're all, nobody can keep up. Everybody's down at least 1 to 2 techs. So when we play phone tag on a day-to-day basis, and that's another thing why DVI in any capacity is good, right? Whether you're starting fresh with TechMetric or you're someone like Craig that is well-versed in digital inspections and believes in it infinitely, right? No matter where we're coming from, what side of the road, it's going to be good for our industry. It's going to reduce liabilities. It's going to increase it's going to shorten the sales cycle, right? Because if someone drops off at 8 o'clock, I want them to have that inspection by 8:20, 8:30, and I want approval within that next 20-minute span. And I don't want to have the same conversation with 5 different people, right? I don't want to talk to a wife that tells me I need to consult with my husband, or can you go explain that same 10-minute conversation that we just had to him or to this person, or that I'm a son and my mom and dad cut the check. They can just forward those links off. So using technology to your advantage is good. And,
trusted more. It's organized that we just click and go, right? It's there. That makes, to your point, in 10 minutes, it's a click. It's habit forming now. Matthew's our stock.
Yeah, you just forward those links off. Yeah, you just forward those links off. So it's so much, it's a better way of life.
What so we still have about 2 or 3 minutes so we start the webinar. Now, I was going to ask each one of you if there is a message, right? Because I'll be prompting a question, right? There's a message for the audience. Anthony, is there something new about bolt-on, and what would you like them to leave them with from a bolt-on perspective today?
Sure. Yeah. Great question, Mark. I think for us, I think the combining of My Shop Manager and Bolt-on, I could touch upon that. We're really branding ourselves in its entirety, all the products in our umbrella, as car count management products. We've taken the bones of a lot of these technologies and used them to focus on quality over quantity with our shops, right? We want to bring back every single brake job possible. We want to bring back customers that are going to average $300-400. I think marketing companies do what marketing companies do, which is just bring back a human being in any capacity. But what does that do? When you bring back cheaper customers, makes the car counts a little unattainable, and it makes it harder on the guys. We have to, I think the most important thing in our industry is retention of employees above everything. So we're taking that into consideration rather than profits, because when you can do the same amount of cars, but you can do 15-19% more suspension, you're going to make more money. You're going to do the same amount of cars and make more money. So the profits are still in mind, but we do it a different way now. So if you could bring up the merger, I'll take it.
This merger of My Shop Manager, right? Okay. And then
yes, sir. Yep.
And our side, right? We're touched when we see shops, right? We started out get those credit card fees back, but they didn't just put in their pocket. They went out and gave team incentives, a charity, right? And that's your point. And go invest it back in your team. So, Craig, I'm just jotting down things I'm going to get to in a call. What would you like to share with you about a shop before we get started, right? They could lead into. So.
What was that again, Mark?
There's something you'd like to share about your shop operations in terms of the education on the webinar?
I mean, just maybe our history. I mean, where we kind of spun our wheels, for 30 odd years or whatever. And then, when we first started getting bolt-on and getting some of this technology really going, that's when our ARO started just going like crazy. I mean, I do attribute a lot of it to ATI because that's about the same. I joined ATI about 6 months after bolt-on. I did have a technician that didn't want to use bolt-on. He thought that was stupid, tablets, blah, blah, blah. So guess what? I booted him. And
these are the top of good decisions, right?
Well, if you're not going to buy into it, if you're not going to buy into what we know is started working, just with one of my other technicians, I can still remember like yesterday, the first DVI that he did paid for every tablet.
Wow.
It was an older Lexus, so it needed shocks and struts and blah blah. It needed. So you know what I mean. So that's that's what do they call something in the pudding or something? I can't remember what's in the pudding.
That's awesome.
That's helping.
The proof.
Awesome. And thank you for helping me level set. I think, Matthew, we have registrants coming in now.
Yeah, so I have to start the webinar. So it's in the practice session. So once I start it, then they'll start coming in. Do you want me, Mark, to share any of those slides?
If we could, the title slide, and then we'll skip slide 2 and just the workflow slide, right? Which brings it all together.
All right. Okay, great. I will start the webinar now so people will start joining.
Ready?
There you go.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. As you can imagine, we prepped before a webinar, and I can't be more excited than to have Anthony and Craig as a shop owner on the call today. And we were just talking about real world experiences in a shop and a history of bolt-ons that we'd love to get into and share with you for the next 30 minutes. Matthew is also joining me from our side, who works with hundreds of ATI shops, hundreds of other shops that are on the call today, but just share Express and how we up-level our customer experiences. So with that, I just want to share, first of all, maybe the introductions of Craig. You tell a little bit about Precision Automotive, where you're located and the size of your shop, just to help level set for the audience.
I've been here since 1986. We're in Midvale, Utah, which is right smack in the middle of the Salt Lake Valley. We are an 8-bay. We have 8 lifts and 1 alignment machine. So I guess ATI likes us to call that a 8.5 bay shop. And right now, I mean, this summer we were so busy. We were running with 7 full line techs and 1 lot kid helping us with all the cars, and 2 service riders. So I think a standard shop.
We talked to a lot of shops. That's some good side, good throughput. And you told me you're heading into another busy week this week. So.
Yep. We're still busy. It's definitely slowing down, like they've been warning us.
It's coming, right? But good for you, right? Great run shop. Thank you for joining today. Anthony, what's your role at Bolt-On for everybody? What's been your time?
Absolutely. So I'm the Director of Enterprise Sales and Strategic Partnerships here at Bolt-On Technology. We currently have over 8,000 automotive repair shops with us in the aftermarket. And, like I said, we do car count management, which includes digital inspections, customer relations, reputation management, quite a few other things under our umbrella. So from my perspective, obviously, relationships like this with guys like yourself.
Anthony looks like he's slowed down a little bit. Do y'all see that too?
Yeah, I think he might have frozen a little.
Well, from their website Bolt-On, I picked up a word, business outcomes. You combine it all together, and that's how it's helping shops like yours, Craig. So Anthony could be more than happy to have you on a call, and he'll be back with us. Matthew heads our customer success. Maybe a quick intro from you. You're a superstar, part of our team here.
So I help, onboard new accounts. I help train the teams, especially the service teams, with knowing how to present Express to their customers, how it integrates into their workflow, and how to use it. And then going forward from there, I help, manage the teams, make it a real success with the shop, with the customers. And then now we have shops who have been working with us for years, and we've established some great relationships. So it's great to see, one of those, Craig, on the shop today, or on the call today.
It's interesting, right? So, Matthew, it's great having you on a team. For those that don't know me, I'm Mark Hale. I'm founder of Facepay, that now we're a platform we call Express. And it's interesting, Matthew, Craig, you've been here a long time. In the early days, we had Facepay as a way of saving fees, and we grew into an entire platform for customer experiences we'll talk about today. Come a long journey together. So thanks for making it real for the audience that's on. I appreciate that. What I want to do is, Craig, I'm going to level set with a workflow slide. That's what's going to bring us all together. While we have Anthony, I know he's coming back to Matthew. Can you share that one slide in workflow? Yeah. For the audience out there, this is what we found works best, right? Craig, workflow drives ARO, right? DVI and workflow together drives a customer experience and ARO. Is that a true statement?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I've been with Bolt-On for since 2016, I'm pretty sure it was. And, after I had a couple employees buy into the program, I can still remember all of the tablets, the whole program, everything that I had originally put money up front to get. The very first DVI paid for the entire program. So, it's a definite ARO builder.
ARO, right? And that's your result right there. It pays for itself. Anthony, glad you're back with us. So.
Sorry about that, guys. Slow power outage. Nothing like a little mid-meeting power outage.
Well, Matt, we were just talking about workflow, and Craig was sharing just, does workflow drive ARO? And the answer is yes, and it pays for itself and then some, right? And talking about one inspection paid off his entire investment, which is awesome. we're going to level set the audience on workflow as we achieve AROs. And then an express perspective on it is, since we're a platform for saving fees around payments, customer financing, we don't like think about at the end when a customer is checking out. This is the messy part, right? We're trying to get away from that into a better experience. And what do? We learn workflow is what drives results. So we inserted ourselves in a workflow at vehicle drop off, educating customers. And then when the vehicle's ready, you're accepting payments, making way for an expedited pickup. It rocks, right? So that's why you go back to work.
Yeah.
That's an express perspective. And to share everybody, there's some optimization you can do with bolt on, right? And it has canned responses in it. I know you two are far more expert than us, right? But that's a way we can totally automate express in a shop, so service writers get back to selling. What I want to do is
100%.
back up from there and just talk with Craig a little bit. Is what's your service advisor experience working with bolt on? And then if you could share a little bit about Express and how you introduced it to customers at check-in.
Well, I mean, we do try to let customers know at check-in that we do take Express. We try to be honest. You know, we let them know over the last how many years what our average credit card processing fees are. You know, they're human also. And if you tell them you spent $40,000-$50,000 last year, you know, where our little joke is we throw $40,000-$50,000 of cash in the middle of the floor and start it on fire. That's what we just did, you know. And so most customers, they're good people and they understand, so they want to help us. And so that's kind of one of our first things we tell them. And then we always let them know that we're going to be sending them that DVI. We're going to be texting it to them, and you know, take a look at it. And you know, it's very transparent. And yeah, it's definitely something that we want to always do on the drop.
So you'll introduce Express when a customer is dropping out their vehicle. And then you also combine that, and we were talking earlier about the magical of DVI inside a bolt-on, right?
Yeah.
Did you go hand in hand when you set out estimates and DVI, and how does that work for you?
Oh, it works great. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, I don't know if you know this, but I think bolt-on was the first. I might be wrong, but as far as doing the DVIs,
I've read a few different patents. I mean, I've had some people from the dealership space, and as far as in the aftermarket, you know, we take a great deal of pride in the fact that, you know, our flag was out there in the aftermarket space, you know, doing these things before a lot of others, and I think continues to this day to try to be innovative and make changes that, you know, in 2023, 24, as we get into it here, are going to last you guys, and other things that can be added on the back end of these technologies to make life even easier from a car count perspective. So
yeah,
if we go back to the original patents, we might have to pull those, but I'll take it. Why not, Craig?
Well, I've always said you were first, so
today. There you go.
That makes it sound cooler. But yeah, I mean,
it does.
Bolt-on did tell me I was the first one in Utah to get on board with them. So yeah, so I've used it for a long time.
Yeah, there's Coast, you can claim it. So
there's to be honest, there was a lot of shops back in the beginning, back in 16, 17, 18, that they came over here and looked at it. They must have found out about it. I don't know if they had customers that told them about it and told them that I had it. And I wasn't shy. I said, come on over, I'll show it to you. So yeah.
Well, that's one thing we learned, right? Is the best thing you can do is make it run well on a shop for Express that they're showing other customers. And that's why we're on a webinar today. I picked up something interesting earlier, Craig and Anthony, as you're talking about DVI, and we just heard it. But if you would, I think my mindset before talking is DVI, right? You're taking pictures and educating. But I just learned from you both is we're sharing today customer experiences, right? And these, now it's the experience that they're expecting from your shop. And that was interesting. You led it, right? Just like we did with our tech. Now we combine it together. That's the experience that keeps your customers coming back and retention, right? And ARO. And I'm happy to see it all coming together now. And we deliver on this promise, make it easier for customer in their shop. So Now, if you want to share a little bit about what a DVI, a great experience looks like as you implement it.
Yeah, Craig, I don't mind taking this one if you can back me up on it as well. Interject for sure. I think what a digital inspection can do for any shop, not only for the customer facing side of it, but also within the shop, right? Think about right now how shops that don't have a digital inspection, they're either doing some type of a courtesy check on paper, handing these things on a clipboard back and forth to one another, the way things were, the way I grew up and in the shop that I was raised in. And there's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of reading of chicken scratch, and there's a lot of discerning information and having to go back physically into the bay and look and see what your technician is explaining, because you might need a visual yourself to be able to pick up that phone and sell it. Right. And then let's talk about that next part of it, picking up that phone and selling it. These people these customers, that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, however many cars you can fit in there on that slot, for that day, we're calling these, without a digital inspection, we're calling these customers, and we're trying to give them as a master tech or an advisor or whatever you're doing, whoever's picking up that phone and giving that explanation to a customer, whether in a waiting room or over the phone, these people are not technicians, right? And really the only way we can give them an education on what's wrong with the vehicle is through that visual. Craig could do an estimate, and that's great. But what is that? That might as well be in Mandarin, right? He's breaking it down with those visuals, the pictures of the pads, the rust, the metal to metal, the leak, showing all that stuff, showing that clogged cabin air filter, whatever it may be. And the beauty is he's having that relationship building experience on every single transaction that he completes. And he's also increasing his average repair orders, because when people see that, when they see that rusted out situation, and Craig might say, for example, hey, the pads look great. You got 90 days of life in these pads. And some customers will say, you know what, just do it now, Craig. I don't want to drop the kids off at daycare early. I don't want to, just do it now. I trust you. Now that ticket's gone up infinitely, right? So, and it's happened, that transaction has happened a hell of a lot faster than it would have without that inspection process, because sometimes people want to take it home and wait on it, but the severity of the situation, picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So Craig, maybe you could kind of back me up in the day-to-day of it.
Oh yeah, I mean that's completely correct. Yeah, I happen to use Mitchell. I know a lot of people use Mitchell. A lot are starting to switch over to some of the other programs, but one of the coolest things we do with their concern that they brought it in for, and then different things that we have found is we put them in different sub estimates, and through bolt-on we just click on text them or email them the sub estimates, and it'll break it completely up into different areas. So it's super nice, it's super easy. And they can also look at pictures, not in that exact same estimate that we sent them, but they could look at the pictures that the DVI sent. And I mean, day to day, it works just beautifully.
In this world, it's a simple understanding, right? And the goal is you wanted to educate them, but to get an approval so you can do the work and get it back in their hands as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
As I listen to this, I wanted to ask Matthew, right, is what we learn from shops is there's a better times to send the express, right? I mean, we're going to offer expedited services in and around these estimates. And I want to just see if Matthew could share what you've learned from customer.
Yeah, so what Craig alluded to and what he does, at his shop, which is exactly how we coach it, is when a customer is dropping off their vehicle, that's the best time to inform them, hey, we'll be sending you a text so you can connect to our shop and have expedited pickup and checkout options. And then they are given that check-in link over text or email. And that helps set the expectation with them that they'll have something they can use to give them more convenience at the shop. And so then they understand it's going to be more a part of their repair experience. And then they're able to, on their own time after they drop off their vehicle, do that one time, connect to the shop through Express, so that when it comes time to pay and pick up, they can do that in a click of a button and have that real Express experience that will leave them, really happy, on top of the DVI that they are given that. And it's created a seamless experience. It's very modernized, and it's going to, get them out of the shop quickly and on their own time. And then it's going to get them back into the shop, whether it's 3 or 6 months down the line, because they had such a great service that they're going to know this is, a business that they want to visit again in the future.
Matthew, this is mind-blowing, right? And the audience doesn't see my excitement, because now you went in the front, right? So you're going to send you estimates, you digital inspection, lets you see it one click and you're in. And then we learned, and that's how we're having express experiences. We have to continue that, because imagine you start there and you said, well, we're going to pick up your vehicle during your lunch hour and stand in line until my service advisor is available. You just took some at the front end, so beautiful, in the end, left your customers with something that they don't like. Don't they want to get their vehicle?
Right.
Oh, right. So this is why we get excited about Express, is how do we continue this magical experience that customers see and differentiate your shop all the way through, vehicles back in their hands, right? Until they come back the next time with it. So
yeah, and taking, those intentional extra 15 to 30 seconds to mention Express and to, send the DVI to them will actually save a significant amount of time throughout the experience, because then rather than the service advisor having to call the customer all the time and, as Anthony explained, walk them through what would be, just written out a piece of paper, the customer can see that on their own time. And we're increasingly seeing customers are busier now than ever. They're back in the office and they want to have the convenience of getting those texts and being able to communicate with the shop on their own time in the method they want. And then at the end of the repair, being able to pick it up when they want and know that the exact service they wanted was completed. And as Anthony said, if there's extra things the shop noticed they weren't planned on, then they can, account for that and make sure it's something that the customer is okay with doing before they actually do that work.
Right. Right. And, I think, Mark, if I may, I think the common denominator amongst what everybody's saying here is text messaging. I think one of the most unfortunate things that I run into on a weekly basis, especially on the enterprise level, is, and it's, like I said, I can't stress this enough. These are groups with 10, 20, 30 plus locations that still haven't embraced text messaging.
yeah.
That's the common denominator. Like Matt said, people are at work. If their boss is right in front of them, they're not going to answer that telephone. But if you send them a text message, they can still go off to the side of their desk and let Craig know, hey, you have it today, do it today. Shortening that sales cycle is paramount. Those text to pay options, all these things that we're discussing here, it all revolves around text messaging. And people will say, hey, my customers don't want a text message. Well, give them the opportunity and watch what happens.
It is. And Anthony, this is the bridge into, it's important we remove our own biases, because we've been saying it for years. And when we introduce it, I go, well, text becomes important. And I go, well, I hear my customers like when I call them. That's your bias. The whole world is moving in simplicity, or you take age into account, right? Or we are the age of our older customers. We're in this bucket and we text all day long, right? There is no age bracket that doesn't text, right? My mom's going to send one shortly. I'm sure of it, right?
Yeah.
So,
don't forget about pictures,
right?
Mark.
We all do, right? So it's so important, right, to stand out of our biases and embrace. This is what your customers are expecting that sets your shop apart from the one up the street. Great observation, Anthony. Yeah, please, Craig.
I was just going to say, don't forget about pictures too, because when Matthew was explaining, where we're, giving the customer the express idea, we do have, the QR code in two different areas, right on our front counter and right on their way out of the door. They can just snap a picture of the QR code and register that way too. So we're giving them plenty of options. And then I was also going to ask Anthony, is that something also a QR code that can go on a DVI?
Yeah, absolutely. With the Pro Pack option for some of our Mitchell users, they're using that option to customize those invoices, whether it's with that or NapaTrax or some of these other systems that we integrate with. And they're using that for future visits, or they're using that for many different options. So those are always good to have those. Obviously not having promotions be at the forefront of these things, but just to have that convenience, right? And those QR codes, or just some of the things that we're revolving around, using technology to your advantage.
Right.
Anthony is touching on Craig, you just seeded it, right? Thank you, Anthony, for bolt-on. We rely on it. We both use it. And then I wanted to ask you, bolt-on, you just had a merger in new technology. What's on your horizon? What do you see? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's next?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Mark. Yeah, so with regards to the merger, Bolt-on and My Shop Manager is the product that My Shop Manager, the customer relations management tool, have combined. And what we did is we took the bones of what was a marketing company and combined it with a all-out digital inspection company, which has really allowed our technologies to flourish in some sense, because now we would brand ourselves as a car count management. So the digital inspection is all about that communication while that vehicle is there. It's up on the lift from start to finish, right? Now, when we talk about post-visit, what are we doing, right? Are we using text messaging, right? Are we prioritizing the upper end of our book of business? Because yes, of course, when customers come up to the door, it doesn't matter if they're an oil change customer that averages $100 or somebody that averages $950. We're going to treat everyone the same. However, at Bolt-on, we want to prioritize your best customers, the gravy jobs and that deferred work, right? Craig on every single invoice is in that vehicles tab and making those recommendations. So if there are breaks that leave, if someone has to say, Craig, I can't afford this today, do the cabin air filter A, B, and C, but I can't afford the brakes right now, and goes home, it's up to Bolt-on to make sure that now we're texting those customers organically, guys. That's a big thing too. So it looks like it's actually Craig and his advisor or Craig himself, and we're contacting these customers and getting them back sooner rather than later. Because no matter what happens, communicating with your customers is important, but also getting Google reviews and reputation management. That is another layer that Bolt-on is experiencing. And it's allowed us to focus on quality over quantity for our shops, because no matter who you are, no one has not been affected by the tech shortage at some point in time over the last 3 to 4 years, or last decade. I mean, let's be honest, this problem has been going on a lot longer than that. So what we want to do is, no matter what happens, Craig's not going to get mad if I bring back a dozen brake jobs this month, right? So it's really about creating better, more intelligent car counts, and it's all in the data. It's all sitting there, and that's the beautiful side of it, is we can prioritize customers of $300-400, or that work that he wants back. So those are some of the biggest changes, and combining that and giving My Shop Manager on the other end, that digital inspection component, has been glorious for all sides of the business.
And how do you think that this addition could help? Because one key thing I noticed is the opportunity for the DVIs, the combination with My Shop Manager, for Express, all the things we're talking about, to help shop scale. Because that's, I think, a key struggle shops have been having the last few years, is when all this new technology just got added in, they're kind of getting adjusted to it. But then now that a lot of shops have mastered it, one thing I think they failed to think about is, how can then we leverage this so it can help our shop scale, in terms of whether it's adding a new bay, maybe adding a new tech, and then a few years down the line, adding second locations or third locations, or whatever expansion looks like for them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that, especially where I sit from the enterprise level, we see that all the time. Someone adding in their third shop, fourth shop, and et cetera, and so on. And every one of those situations is different, right? It could be you're buying an existing book of business. A shop retires and he's been there for 25 years. Well, now it's time for you to build up that relationship, right? It's important for you to have that communication with the customers. And I think the good thing about our technology, which I will say, and I'll be bold to say this, we're different in the sense that we can tailor the technology to every shop, to every demographic, right? Because the way we reach out to customers in Manhattan is going to be different than rural Nebraska, and Silicon Valley. So these are all important things that I want the messages to, in every situation, preach to Craig's demographic, right? His customers, what he would say. These are not canned responses. And the inspections, same thing with that. We tailor these inspections and make these adjustments so that it's what's best for him, his techs, his advisors, and his clients. It has to be seamless from start to finish, because when there's hiccups, it creates kickback, and it creates that reluctancy especially if on the shop level, if techs aren't using it, it can create biases, which, Craig, I think in the early days of your inspection, a lot of shops fight that. I think you had to let go of a technician because of it.
And in fact, he was my A tech. Yeah, he was not going to get on board with doing, DVI courtesy inspections. And so guess what? These work, and you can now find the door, because I could see back then that was the future.
And
removing biases is extremely hard. I appreciate everyone for giving my profit back. Who knows where that came from, but go figure. I'm excited by this flow, right? Is the reason why is you had DVI, but what do we always do? Because we care, right? Craig Amoye is an owner, right? I enjoy working as an owner because you know it, you're in it. That's why you have this passion to have the shop, right? The hardest thing for everyone to do is to simplify. And by combining with marketing, right, that gets us into, it's not canned anymore, it's simplifying it for that customer, right? I'll be biased, right, towards Express, right? Is customers already told you they've got a trip coming this weekend. They have 15 minutes on Friday. What do you say? Sign up for Express. We'll have it expedited. You can get your vehicle and go on your trip. They'll go and do it, right? That's simplification. I think it's the side of marketing, getting a message in just a few words. When you said a combination, that resonated, and for your team members, they got to get on board with it all. That's what your customers want. That's what we're all having a discussion around customer experiences. So
that's right.
It's awesome simplification. So I also picked up, you talked about expansion, you know, Anthony, how you help shops expand, and Craig, you've recently expanded. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep. We've recently purchased another shop. We're going into the Euro world. So yeah, we're going to be getting bigger and bolder. I've understood that that's a different beast. So
it is. Well, the good news, you're part of the ATI community. Great coaching, right? You'll be able to find people in your 20 groups with your coach that can help you out, right? What's your experience with ATI been like?
Oh, it's been wonderful. I definitely, as they say, I definitely am a Kool-Aid drinker. So I drink the Kool-Aid for sure. Yeah, there's not much of anything with ATI that I don't agree with. It's been wonderful.
I love working with their coaches because they're in it for the members. And we talked earlier about being at super conference together. Just how level set it is just people interacting with people there and sharing experiences, and the coaches are part of that community, right? And you said you drink Kool-Aid, but we're all learning from each other. It's great.
Yep.
Right? So.
Yep. The 20 groups are awesome. Little things like, you know, I've learned where to get a frequency report. You know, I never knew where to get that before. And with what Anthony was talking about with the new, we call it Retention Pro, my shop manager.
That's right.
We have seen that come up. We've seen our frequency come up. First time visitors are 50%. And second time visitors used to be, they would drop down quite a bit for whatever reason. Even though we think we're wowing them, we think that we're awesome, blah blah blah, you'll see a big percentage drop. And since we started with Retention Pro, my shop manager, we have started to see that second time visit, third time visit come up. And we do know that that's because of what Retention Pro and Bolt On is doing for us.
Always
that's great. That's great to hear, Craig. Yeah, no, he's absolutely right. I mean, for us, like we think about, to go back into conversation a little bit, you know, like we said, the DVI is for when that vehicle's there, and that's what's going to increase that average repair order in that very moment and that day and that transaction. Now, when they come back, are we going to be out here trying to get Google AdWords and all these other things to try to increase on new customers? We'll worry about Google reviews and we'll let that do what it has to do. But just getting an additional annual visit out of that top 30, 40% of your book of business, there's a ton of revenue sitting there that, we can accomplish for you guys simply through communicating with your customers, right? And your best, and putting those filters, right? What's a good customer? For example, we're talking about two different situations, right? Craig's first store, right? That average repair order, the target client that we're getting over there might be $200 or more. Moving into the European world, those are higher average repair orders, right? So we might be looking at someone in the $350 range. So these are all things in which we talked about before. And I don't want to be a broken record, but we tailor this to each individual scenario, right? So whatever works, right? The proof is in the pudding.
Personalization, and it's go back to Craig as an owner. The fact that you're willing to do this, it's progressive, leading the community, right? That's what makes for better shops, and that's why your customers are coming back. So I did want to make sure, Matthew, if we're watching, if there's any questions from the audience. And a level set is we looked at, wow, a customer experience from the moment they're scheduling with you to coming in, getting your inspection, getting work done, picking a vehicle. And now we're learning about coming back as workflow drives results. Great discussion around that experience today. They appreciate. Matthew, are there any questions we wanted to field? No.
Doesn't look like any. I think we covered a lot.
All right. We did cover a lot today. So maybe wrap up there with just a thank you to the three of you for what you do for your customers and what you shared today. Craig, thank you. Learning about your shop and your growth, your long history with Bolt-On is amazing. But Bolt-On, I admire you. That's why you listen to customers and continue building it while you innovate and bringing new things like the merger of My Shop Manager is awesome. Right? Love that. Right. Matthew.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Matthew, admire you a lot. Superstar. Learn every day. All right. So it keeps us going. In the audience, I appreciate your attending today. Turn on express customer experience, what its meaning is, and found out ARO drives results because they're happier and your shop performs better and reward your team. So very excited to have everybody. Thank you for joining. So we'll see you in the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll see ya.